Yo, what's up, guys? This is Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Cast, and one of the HCS commentators and analysts and even grassroots content creators. And we have another HCS report where today we're talking about the huge changes that are going to be coming to ranked and competitive play. You're not going to want to miss this. So let's talk about it. So as you guys probably already know, I'm recording this video at about 9:22 a.m. Eastern. There's going to be an update at about maybe 3 p.m. Eastern. So by the time you guys see this video, the update will probably be live for by like 12 to 20 hours already. But it's still, we're talking about some of the changes that are going to be made, especially if you don't know about it and it's going to just smack you in the face out of nowhere. And be like, whoa, why does my game feel a lot different? It was 5 days ago that Tashi put out a waypoint post saying on July 30th, today, the next ranked season begins, and with it comes some updates to the sandbox, ranking system, and ranked Slayer. Additionally, our back-end matchmaking experiments have concluded, and as promised, we've got more detailed information on what we've been doing. We gotta talk about that. Balance updates. There are quite a few changes coming to the balance of the sandbox, and you can read about all of them here for this blog. We've pulled about the ones that directly impact rank. Really important, that's the ones we're going to focus on. Bandit Evo. After observing how the Bandit Evo has been performing since the start of the HCS season, and listening to the community's conversation around the weapon and how its fast time to kill was impacting the game, we have slowed the rate of fire slightly. We didn't want to make drastic changes in the middle of an HCS season, but rather nudging it in the right direction. Changes: slower rate of fire to address community feedback around time to kill. Rounds per second low and high, 2.9, 2.7. Improvements to red reticle headshot accuracy. This is going to be huge. I feel like this is really going to favor players who spam their weapon less and are a lot more accurate with the Bandit Evo, which is going to create a much more competitive environment as opposed to just spamming it and kind of hoping for the best. Disruptor. The Disruptor was having a hard time finding its place on maps as an effective pickup like the other weapons on the map, so some changes have been made to beef it up while also removing elements that players found frustrating. Damage over time, aka DOT, returns 8 shots to kill 2 super combines. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've always really loved the idea of the Disruptor doing that damage over time. Is it the most competitive part of the weapon? Probably not, but it did have a place within the sandbox for what it did, and it also was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see how this damage over time is going to return while also remaining competitive and not being overpowered or disrupting the flow of the map too much. Remove particle effect from event 1P loop. Adjusted particle screen effect to be less intrusive. I don't even know what that means. Damage upper bound, high decrease 70 to 35. Dot damage will not continuously cause descope. That's pretty huge. That could be annoying when you're sitting there getting hit with the damage over time. You're trying to zoom in to hit somebody from across the map to be effective on the map, and you keep getting descope because of that dot damage. Actually, I think that's a really good change and probably going to help a lot when it comes to returning the damage over time with the Disruptor. The assault rifle. The bloom of the reticle on the assault rifle was causing instances where players were missing shots, but they were not registering, and overall the weapon at the max bloom felt inconsistent. This has been tightened a bit to give the weapon a more consistent feel. We have the min maxes right here, but I think that's going to be decent. I don't know if the AR really needed a buff per se, but I will say having any weapon feel more consistent is going to be really important, because I hate, as of somebody who plays a decent amount of Rumble Pit before I get into my ranked grinds, using the AR definitely feels inconsistent at times. I'm like, dude, how did that not finish the kill when it feels like it's right on target? So I don't know if this is so much more of a buff, but really kind of just bringing it to a more consistent place, which sounds really good. The Spanker. aka the rocket launcher. The SPNKr in some instances was feeling inconsistent with regards to damage and kills. The goal here wasn't to functionally change the way the SPNKr behaved, but more so to fine-tune some cases to be more consistent and reliable for players. We see damage fall off feels more consistent, adjusted fall off function so players are not left with a sliver of health, outer damage radius adjusted, increased maxed reserve ammo as well. Love what we're gonna see here from the rockets. Again, not really a buff, but being more consistent sounds good, because I'm sure there's been a time or two where you fired a rocket and you were left questioning big time, like, what the heck just happened right there? Hopefully that becomes no more, again, without actually buffing it and making it, making it even stronger than what it is, because it is probably the strongest weapon that we have in Halo Infinite with as far as ease to use and getting a kill. Grenades, this is going to be big. Grenades impulse tuned to allow grenade jumping in line with previous Halo titles. Frag grenades added impulse to frag grenade damage effect, instantaneous acceleration increase. Plasma grenades added impulse to plasma grenade damage, same kind of thing. Spikes, same thing, but this is going to be, it's going to be fun. And I know a lot of people are going to probably experiment with it in the beginning, and it's going to be very effective. After that, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how crazy it's going to be. I guess it depends what kind of jumps can be made. I talk about, like, on streets, we're making the pizza jump. As opposed to that, can I nade jump that? Because I can definitely see myself wanting to do something like that every once in a while to try to save some time. Also, on top of that, when you start hearing nades go near you, it might be a good idea to jump and try to get away from them, because you might be able to jump onto a platform that's really going to throw your opponent off and allow you to get out of a sticky situation. So I don't know how much grenade jumping is going to affect the combat loop. I feel like I just got to go in, see for myself, and then we'll kind of make a decision on how big of an influence it is. Like, off the rip, I'm thinking maybe not too much, but then again, there's going to be some possibilities that are opened up that we've never seen before, and that's what I'm interested in, and seeing how much it affects the combat loop in Halo Infinite. Spawn updates? Oh my god, thank goodness. There have been changes to spawn points on the majority of the ranked arena maps suite, including Aquarius, Recharge, Solitude, Livefire, Forbidden, Argyle, Empyrean, Streets. Pretty much every map. The goals of these changes are to make the spawn system more readable and consistent, along with reducing instances where players are spawning in overly advantageous positions. Certain spawn points located in the middle of the maps that have been identified as problematic have been removed. Additional spawn points have been added to already existing spawning areas to account for the removed spawns and improve consistency. We will continue to monitor feedback on the spawning system as the season progresses. Oh my goodness, the spawns really needed an update, and hopefully this fixes things dramatically, because oh my gosh, the spawns have been really bad, and I think this is going to be huge for the game. Probably a lot bigger than people are even giving credit for, because I've been hearing people talk about the assault rifle. I've been hearing people talking about, the bandit, but not many people are talking about these spawn updates, which can really, really help the game. Aquarius layout. In response to feedback on the location of Overshield on Aquarius, the Overshield and Thruster have swapped locations. Makes sense to me. Overshield will now spawn top middle, Thruster would now spawn P1, with the Overshield being a highly impactful item on the map. The intention is that this central location will be more fair for both teams to contest at all points in a match, not just the beginning. I think in some ways I kind of like the Overshield over towards P1 to stop the clustering of just car control the whole time. Like, I feel like the stronger team is going to just dominate car side of the map now, where the Overshield kind of pulled you away from that and made you kind of make a choice or multitask in order to control both. Now, a central location, people are trying to grab Overshield and they go right back to that car side control, but it makes sense on a competitive standpoint to have the Overshield in, like what they said, a centralized location, so both teams have a fair shot at fighting over it without it being too muddy or dirty. It makes sense to me. I can see why they made a change. Rule set updates. Last year, we added a requirement for players in ranked arena to search solo duo after 1600 CSR. This was done in response to feedback that we've been receiving around players not wanting to match against parties of 3 or 4. While we have seen an overall improvement to the match balance and quality, players at 1600 have been also feeling too restricted and want to play more matches with their friends. In the data, we see that the vast majority of players in ranked arena search solo/duo, upwards of 95%. So while we still want to make sure those players are enjoying their matches, we're going to increase the solo/duo restriction to 1700 CSR. I personally didn't hate the idea of having solo duo at 1600. Some people feel like it felt a little bit too early, so that's why increasing it to 1700 is probably a really good play. As somebody who solos and mainly duos myself, it's nice, but I will also say that Halo's played in 4s. And to get valuable practice with your team, it would be nice. And earlier this year, we began experimenting with another change with... the hell was that word? Deterministic? Deterministic CSR. Today, players above 1800 CSR go up +7 when they win, and down -7 when they lose. This has been met with a positive feedback, and our data shows players above that level are playing even more now. Starting on July 30th, this feature will start at 1700 CSR. As usual, we're going to be monitoring the impact based on what players are telling us and what we are observing in the data to continue to make informed decisions. Kind of makes sense. When you get to a certain point, it's really just about winning, and especially if you stop being able to play in teams of 3s and 4s and you started from that point, I can see why they chose 1700 CSR as the starting point for this +7 -7, and it sounds like it's actually going to be a really good idea. I'm excited to see what players think about this section, another very important section of this Waypoint blog that I think not enough people are really talking about. In summary, once players hit 1700 CSR, they will begin searching solo/duo, and each match will reward or take away 7 CSR. Nice little TLDR right there. Back in the experiment outcomes, at a very high level, we match make based on skill and latency, and you can think of time to match as the currency we spend to find the match. Interesting. If you prioritize finding better matches in terms of skill and latency, it means you could be spending more time finding a match. The reason I say could is because there are obviously lots of other factors like the time of day, region, local versus expanded options, party size, etc. I feel like we kind of knew of this, but like it's interesting to see it actually put into words where it's like, okay, we're gonna base on skill, but also keep in mind that usually connection matters, and obviously, you know, if you're playing in an off-peak time like I do oftentimes, really super early in the morning, that's going to affect things. But interesting to see this actually put into words. What we observed before the experiment in the matchmaking data for ranked and what we were hearing from players was that there was room to make more closely skilled matches. Additionally, find matches with more players in my region or part of my region so that I have a higher quality experience. And we also noticed that there were many times where a lower quality match was being made when the matchmaker only took a few seconds to match the match. Based on this, we decided to experiment and push the match quality to be as good as it can be without making it so that people could not find matches. So interested to see how things are going to go. There's going to be less of, like, you know, bad server games, I would imagine, and with something like that, but maybe slightly longer wait times. The first experiment was to increase the weighting of the pairwise predictability value. Pairwise predictability will look at how each player stacks up against each other player in the lobby individually. This not only makes it so that the teams would be better balanced against one another, but we're prioritizing every single person in the lobby being closely matched in skill, which we believe is more important for making a quality match. After observing the impact of this change, we did see an improvement in this area, particularly around the edges of the skill band, so bronze, silver, and diamond onyx. Got a little chart guide for us. Once we concluded that there was positive impact in terms of fair matches, we also looked at time to match and concluded that there was no widespread perceivable negative impact in terms of how long players were taking to find matches, as well as indicating data like how many players are canceling their searches. After this, we decided to see if we could improve the latency, so we increased the waiting there a few weeks later. After the first change had settled, again, this means we're telling the matchmaker that it should spend a little more time trying to find the match where players searching could have lower latency. We once again observed the results, but there wasn't conclusive data, which indicates that our changes was too small, or there were other factors that played into making this unclear, like playlists change across the game. This is like huge transparency right now on really not only what the changes are, but why they made the decisions and what they really tried. I will say, I love the transparency here. We once again increased pair-wise predictability in hopes of further increasing the quality of matches. At this point, we had started to see more feedback from the community, particularly from players in regions with less population and at skill bands where there are fewer players. We also saw feedback from players who reported searching during what we could consider to be off-peak times, like super late at night or early in the mornings. That's when I play. Typically in the afternoons or evenings after work and school is when most players tend to jump on and play. From a match quality standpoint, it also wasn't clear that there was a meaningful positive impact, which led us to conclude that we pushed this a bit too far. Again, explaining what they did and why they did it. Loving this. Finally, with Match Composer releasing, we also added 2 new ranked playlists in Ranked Slayer and Ranked Doubles. I'm happy to report that we collectively saw an increase in players, 44% increase in the first week. Huge. And playtime across ranked on a weekly basis. At the same time, a few percentage points of the player population for these new playlists were taken from Ranked Arena, which we believe is making time to match take too long. And we've certainly seen an uptick in anecdotal reports. Because of this, we found and deployed another waiting update to find a middle ground from where this experiment started and where it last was, so that we can improve the experience overall, but still ensure that time to match isn't unbearably long. This latest update has been live for the last few weeks, and it seems to be a good working middle ground where we have improved the match quality from where it began without harming time to match significantly. At this point, we're calling our experiment a success and will not be making further adjustments unless there are other conditions that change and we see changes in the feedback, what we can observe in our data. So guys, definitely do yourself a favor, play ranked as much as possible and really see how the matches are being matched, and if they're like super fair, and also kind of weigh that on how long the matches are taking, because that's what they're looking for, both. So guys, lots of changes going down. You're going to want to jump into the ranked playlist as soon as possible and check out these changes and see what you think. You know, are the matches going to be better? For example, like as far as quality and your teammates versus the enemy. Are they going to be taking too much time? Because like they kind of talked about, you know, adjusting how the matchmaking is done, adding multiple ranked playlists into the equation, definitely could see some changes in that front, and they want to make the matches as fair and as even ground as possible, so keep an eye out on that. And then also check out the changes to like the weapons, like the Bandit Evo Disruptor, and seeing what those weapons play like now, and the consistency of the assault rifle and the SPNKr, and see if that kind of falls in line for what we're looking for. I can't wait to jump in. I know you guys probably have already done it by the time this video comes out. Let me know in the comments down below what are your first kind of thoughts about it, and then we can kind of talk about how things go as we start to play it week after week, you know, and see if the opinions on things are still the same next month as they are right now. Either way, catch you guys later. Peace.